Welcome back, Leaguers. I'm here with Joe and the Fish Show to break down Alliance's win in that game. Let's start with the mid lane matchup because so excited to see that Anivia coming out again, this time versus Ziggs. What do you guys make of the matchup?
Well, obviously we saw Froggen bring teleport because he knew it was going to be a hard laning phase, and then he could focus, on ganking other lanes instead of putting all the focus on trying to beat Ziggs all alone. And the Anivia pick itself just really worked well for Alliance because they had Elise as well, and they had Morgana. So you have Binding, you have Cocoon, you have Anivia stun as well when you actually siege on the tower. We saw them use it with the wall, of course, from Froggen just to catch out targets and take kills.
Yeah, speaking of catching out, I actually don't think this was the best showing we've seen from Selfie. This split, he's definitely got a lot better, but this game he got caught out 3, 4, 5 times. The bombs were either too early or too late a lot of the time. We saw he'd throw the bomb, then the crescendo would come, then Evelynn would run in there. It was all just a little bit disjointed, and I don't know how much we can read into this performance because Super Hot Crew definitely looks a little bit off.
Yeah, another pick I actually wanted to talk about is seeing the Thresh banned out by the Super Hot Crew, and I was kind of wondering what will We Will Failure do honor the champions? It was the Sona coming out again. What did you make of that? Him on Sona and on the other side, Morgana for Nif.
Right, so he had a weird diff, of course, early on to Froggen where he tried to stop the recall, but the Sona pick itself, or We Will Failure on Sona wasn't the issue. It was the Sona pick itself that was very easy for Alliance to punish. That's why they had so much focus on teleporting to the bot lane with Anivia, ganking with Shook, because with Sona in the laning phase, or just in general, you're very immobile. I mean, there's no jumps, you're very squishy. So as soon as they teleport in behind her, it's just an easy kill every single time, and they really used it to get a lot of early kills.
I think later on, though, crescendos, we saw a few very good ones out of him. The flash crescendo to actually kill Froggen the first time, I think that was really well done. Also in the one of the very last team fights, I think he got a 4 or 5 man crescendo, but again, they'd already used the bomb. The rest of the team were already backing away.
Yeah, too little, too late in there. When we look at the game in general, early game standard lanes again, is that because this was such an important matchup and they were kind of maybe shy to jump the gun and bring out too many fights in the early game? Did they just want to take it slow?
Not at all, in my opinion. It's just how it went. Nobody went for any early lane swaps here, and that's fine. You don't have to lane swap. If you feel confident you can beat people in the laning phase, then it's the best tactic to use. And of course, Alliance, they've shown time and time again, standard lanes are just fine for them because they are so strong. The teamwork with teleports were great. The early dragon control with Shook on Elise as well was perfect. They kept starting dragons early on. Every time Super Crew moved, they stopped until the one time where Super Crew were out of position, picked up first dragon, got the next one, and kept getting all the dragons throughout the game. So Alliance, I mean, they're just showing we can play lane swaps, we can play minion control, we can play standard lanes, everything works for us.
Yeah, I think that's the big point, that they've got a lot of variety in their tactics because we saw a lot of TP last season in Season 3, and the thing is, it works. If the bottom lane is too far up, you can make it a 3 versus 2 instantly. If the mid lane, especially if it's an Anivia with a wall in there and a slow and a stun as well, we'll see. I think we might see more of it.
Finally, let's maybe take a general step back and look at Alliance as a team right now and maybe compare it with the team that is closest to them, maybe SK Gaming, and kind of the differences between those two, Defisho.
Well, last time we saw Alliance versus SK Gaming, it was pretty much the same level when it came to map movements, when it came to mid-late game points, except Alliance slowed down a little bit, gave SK a chance, but the early game was the big difference. Enrique talked about it after the SK Gaming match, how they've been working on playing more solo queue, need to improve early game individual performance, because that's where Alliance beat them and were the better team. And we saw the same thing against Super Hot Crew right here. I mean, standard lanes and slowly just pull ahead, do some good ganks, great use of teleport, and just take full control of the game. So Alliance, all around, are just looking like the best team in Europe.
And that's the thing, right? They were put together because they were individually skilled players. So that's the side of the game that I think they always had. But they slowly, tactically, and the teamwork that they're managing to get together, the right calls, I mean, they still scream a lot. I think their communication in game could still be better, and I think that'd actually give them a bit of a boost if they worked on that, but they look frightening right now.
Absolutely great plays made by Alliance once again, and actually that's also what we've asked you at home. You've been tweeting to us at LOL Esports because we picked your brain on who is the biggest playmaker in the European LCS and why. And here are some of your answers. The first one is from at LOL Personality. The biggest playmaker is xPeke. The guy has a play named after him. He's a smart, experienced player as well. So that's a little double for me because that was a while ago.
Of course, I mean, we can't forget the play, and it, for me, just shows what kind of player xPeke is. He likes to make the big plays or try to make them. If Fnatic falls behind, of course, it becomes harder and harder. So while he's been a bit inconsistent, of course. When he had good games, he would make the big plays still, and therefore I have to agree.
The second one is from Hussein Ahmed. Impaler has been making sweet plays so far in the summer split. His Lee Sin was a bit cold in week 1, but now it's super hot. Too bad we didn't see it here.
Yeah, and Impaler is another player that's only improved as we went along. If we remember back to the spring split, he was like really struggling to find his right kind of champion. Then all of a sudden he found Pantheon, and he was like, okay, he's getting better, he's getting better. Then he had a bit of a weak phase, but I honestly think that Impaler is a player that's really grown overall, and a bit of British pride as well always helps.
The last one is from @GetLoweD. That has to be Nif. His hooks and solar flares are always turning fights into Alliance's favor, and Morgana is also pretty good.
Well, we have to agree, Nif is great in making plays. With the rest of Alliance, the synergy with Shook, we always talk about it. For me though, I always think back to the promotion before the last split, of course, where he played for SK Gaming actually. Pretty much the same lineup here, just him on the team instead of Enrated, where against Super Hot Crew, SK Gaming was 2-2. Last game, he picks Leona, and he just makes plays left and right, carries the team into the LCS, joins Alliance, and keeps making big plays, of course.
Yeah, it's absolutely coming together for them. Thank you for sending those tweets in, and keep the in-game chatter going by using #LCS in your tweets. We're going to send it back to Demon and Quickshot at the desk, but first, let's hear from ROC's Jankos about Fnatic's poor start to the split and what it means as they face off in our next match.
Yes, I think Fnatic is underperforming. I think usually they play very good, but they are inconsistent, and at this point they are pretty weak. I mean, they seem not as good as always, but we don't as well. So maybe we'll be able to win that matchup.
Some very interesting words from Banda there. Fnatic are not that strong right now, and you can't argue with that, honestly, right now. It is time for Fnatic to face off against ROC. This was a battle that went 3-1 in favor of Fnatic during the spring split and is currently 1-0 for Fnatic in the summer. Both of these teams came out with losses yesterday, though. Fnatic had a long-fought match against the Super Hot Crew where their backs were against the wall the entire game.
Yeah, the problem for Fnatic, they just played so scared. They played super afraid. They had this great sort of poke/pick style comp, which was able to contain the Super Hot Crew for a long time. But the problem is they had very little proactive gameplay, and they had no way to handle the crew's map control, which was afforded to them by those minions, which I spoke so excessively about. Fnatic, they just played that defensive game for over an hour, and Peke was largely responsible for that. He held off and defended many objectives. His Nidalee Spears had tracking beacons attached to them. It's his second time he's played it, and I'm not expecting Nidalee to make it through picks and bans based off of yesterday's performances, and also knowing that Overpow is a Nidalee player himself.
Absolutely. Well, ROC, they are now rooted at the bottom of the table with 1 win and 6 losses. Yesterday, they played well in the early game, holding level with Alliance, but once again, they struggled as the match moved into the mid-game, and they were easily controlled from then on in.
Yeah, so the problems for ROC don't seem to be letting up. Their game yesterday showed stronger signs of life than many others, as they did have that good start to the game. They pushed towers, they were finding kills, but I think from a picks and bans perspective, Alliance just surprised ROC. They didn't show an understanding of what to do against a triple late game threat of Jax, Anivia, and Kog'Maw. ROC focused all of their efforts into shutting down Wicked's Jax, but he still went even on CS, so it just wasn't enough. As a team, they're just really struggling. You just seen their stats there. 2.23 KDA. They've got the second lowest out of all European teams. They've got the second lowest number of dragons secured. And that's very important when you consider how strong they were last split in terms of dragon control. They were up there on par with Gambit. But all of these things are very serious problems for them to solve. Just very quickly, I don't know what they need to fix these problems, because individually they're being outmatched, and strategically the game seems to be moving and evolving faster than ROC can adapt.
Yeah, and I mentioned it yesterday, how everybody expected this team to kick on. I certainly did, and
I did as well.
Everybody expected ROC. They had a 3rd place finish in the playoffs. Fantastic performance. Didn't happen, hasn't happened so far. Can it happen now? Let's check out the starting lineups for these two teams. Over on the blue side, it is Fnatic. That means sOAZ is in the top lane, Cyanide in that jungle, smarting a new haircut, by the way. Peke in the mid lane, Rekkles as AD carry, and YellOwStaR in support.
He looks lovely. On the red side, it is Xaxus in the top lane, Jankos in the jungle, Overpow in the mid lane, Celaver playing AD carry, and Vandalife as your support.
I believe Defisha would call him a very attractive man. That was his words last time in the opening cast as well. Let's check in in to see who you think is going to come out on top in this game. According to the votes, well, no surprises. Fnatic, 82% over on LOLesports.com. Not shocked, really. The Fnatic fan base holds strong.
Yeah, and even with both of these teams underperforming, Fnatic are still looking better than ROCCAT. ROCCAT's had momentary glimpses of positivity. Fnatic are still putting up good fights. But unfortunately, we're seeing misplays. Yesterday, for example, they were forced to early pick in Italy. They didn't want to give that to Super Hot Crew. And they could have played around it. They had all of the tools to prevent every single team fight with that Trundle, with that Nami. But they just couldn't make it stick. So we need to see how they handle ROCCAT, because ROCCAT did have an aggressive start yesterday. So if they get early game champions, they could look to do the same.
And, you know, despite Fnatic's terrible start to the season, they are still 4th.
Correct.
That's the end of the day. They are still in 4th place, so all working out well for them. Here we go. Picks and bans about to get underway. The final game of the day and the final game of the week. Let's see how this one turns out. Fnatic starting out, obviously, as the blue time with the first ban, and it will be Kale Kassadin also taken away. Bog standard bans so far for these two teams. Thresh taken away. Don't want to let Vandalife have that one through.
Yeah, and also YellOwStaR's not necessarily the biggest Thresh player. He has got 2 games under his belt, but he's significantly stronger on reactive champions like that Morgana and Nami right now. Keep in mind, YellOwStaR did also have fantastic Leona and Annie play last split, so they can go for an aggressive support if their comp allows.
Yeah, that Nidalee ban has come through, as you mentioned. Didn't expect to see that sneak through. Jax also taken away. It's actually Fnatic that banned that one away, which tells me I wonder if they want to focus on maybe a top lane first pick.
Could be Shyvana first pick again. It is something... Shyvana's probably the strongest top laner right now in the
but no.
eyes, and it's not going to be that one instead.
No, because Morgana got banned out when leaving Twitch open. Of course, Celaver doesn't play Twitch, but ROCCAT have banned Twitch so many times so far in this summer split. I kind of expected that to be the final ban. As it is, of course, Celaver, the Lucian player. Well, we'll see what he goes with, but Twitch getting snuck through for Rekkles, that's not a bad start.
Definitely not. As an aside, ROCCAT have banned Twitch in 6 out of their 8 games. This week, they have not banned Twitch. They've transitioned away. So we know Celaver isn't a Twitch player. The one thing to note is that the 2 games that Rekkles has played on Twitch have been phenomenal. He's got a 440 gold per minute average with a 9.7 KDA.
Per minute.
And it's he's just going to carry with it. He's going to roam if he plays that route, and we'll see how effectively he can get off to the starts.
Well, you can see Shyvana, Leona were locked in quickly. Fnatic locking their 2 in, keeping ROCCAT on their heels. Ziggs in the mid lane for Peke, and Cyanide locking in his jungler. It is going to be Evelynn once again.
So Fnatic have got the makings of a pick and a zoning composition. Twitch and Eve can roam around the map, they can find solo targets, isolate them, and Ziggs can zone your opponents away from towers. ROCCAT have got the makings of a very dive-heavy comp. Elise is still up and available and is a jungler that Jankos has played several times already. Unfortunately not accrued a win this split, but it would synergize with the rest of the champions they've got locked in. The question is, where does Overpow go for a mid laner? LeBlanc is still up in terms of damage, but he needs something that can deal with that Ziggs in the mid lane. I would even consider an Orianna for this setup. You've got so much AoE and dive potential. You throw an Orianna ball on top of any one of your 3 diving champions, and you do have the makings of a great wombo combo, as ROCCAT would say from the last split.
We saw Celaver getting his standard champion. Didn't look too happy about it, I gotta be honest, but it has been locked in nonetheless. That's Lucian, and of course Lee Sin.
It's going to be Twisted Fate. With Flash and Ghost on Overpow's side, and the fact that he's run TF twice already, also does a similar job. Well, not really a wombo combo style, but it'll give them map presence. Twisted Fate will also be a great pick against 2 stealth champions. He can throw down that Destiny, get vision of both Twitch and Evelynn in those team fights, and mitigate some of that power that Fnatic will be accruing for themselves.
It's going to give him vision as well of those 2 stealth champions. Lulu getting locked in. That's a Lulu in the top lane for sOAZ, because Nami will be alongside the Rat down the bottom for YellOwStaR.
Yeah, so we do see YellOwStaR on that reactive champion like we talked about. We were anticipating the Morgana or the Nami. Morgana banned away, so he's going to go to the zoning and the kiting power of Nami. What I like about Fnatic's comp is they can do a lot of things effectively. They have disengage, they do have flanking power with both Twitch and Evelynn, and they've got very good zoning and kiting with both Ziggs and Lulu. ROCCAT are going to have a tough time breaking through a Fnatic defense because of how effective their wave clear is. So if ROCCAT do play the split push game, I think that's where they can get a lead. I'm just not 100% confident in Rocket's strategic decision-making when it comes to playing the map. I don't think, as a team, they are capable of winning through split pushing at this exact time.
Well, Rocket have got a composition that very much fits the spring split.
Yes.
They haven't appearingly moved with the times, as everybody else has. We'll see how it works out for them. Fnatic, though, as you mentioned, heavy pick comp, could dive on towards anyone.
Yeah.
That is generally, for me, when Fnatic are at their best.
I agree. It allows them to set up those very trademarked Fnatic death pushes,
Yeah.
and that can give them strong leads, especially when you consider that there's actually 3 fairly squishy champions on the side of Rocket with that Lee, Twisted Fate, and Lucian, especially in the early game. And whenever we've seen the Ziggs versus Twisted Fate matchup, Kerp has decimated his opponents, and he's just done a very good job. We need to see if xPeke can have the same situation when he's got the aggressive summoner right now, and Overpower's got those utility, mobility-based summoners. But if Fnatic are ever grouped up and spotted for the Shyvana Leone engage, that's it. I mean, they're tickets. They're going to be in a very difficult position to get away from. A lot of pressure on sOAZ to time his wild growth correctly.
Well, we'll see how this one works out for us. We're going to see who you guys at home think has come out ahead in the picks and bans. Tweet at LOL Esports and use the hashtag FNCWin or hashtag ROCWin, and we'll see if those lineups manage to sway your votes. For me, Fnatic have got the edge.
I think the composition from Fnatic will do stronger during the laning phase and will also afford them an earlier spike to make plays. Because of the fact that Shyvana's going to need to get some split pushing items and Twisted Fate's going to want, and Athene's maybe get some split pushing power going, it's going to take Rocket longer, I feel, to hit that power spike. And we'll see if they can survive. Also, lane matchup. I mean, they got a Leone in lane. It's going to be difficult against a Nami, who's going to be able to bubble you, predicted from the Zenith Blade. So let's see if they go for straight up head-to-head.
Well, we'll see how this one works out, ladies and gentlemen. The final game of the day and the final game of the week here in Europe about to get underway. It is Fnatic starting out as the blue team up against the might of Rocket in the red team. Who will come out victorious in this one?
And I think you can see Rocket once again committing for a slower laning phase. Overpow has gone for the Flask, Crystalline Flask to start. Going to look to regen and sustain through the poke that xPeke is going to be putting down. It is also not going to offer him combat stats, so he can't afford to make misplays or get overextended. Fnatic with the first potential move. They do have that living ward in Cyanide, so he can try spot someone from Rocket. And, Aqua Prison could send somebody to the death chamber.
Well, I don't expect Overpower to step off to the side. We are seeing Sonic Waves being thrown out from Jankos. He wants to try and get vision of someone. He's pretty certain that they are there. Fnatic are still holding ground, that they are looking to go for that red buff invade, though. Yeah,
definitely a delayed invade from Fnatic's side. If Rekkles goes for the ambush, there's going to be 2 stealth champions that can move into the right position. But that's a good ward from Rocket. It's actually going to reveal the Fnatic invade. So Rocket have all the information to work with. I think Gambit have been one of the only teams that have challenged to defend their own red buff. They did that last week.
Rocket want to fight this.
Did well. And wow, that's a big vote.
Well, that's for sure a big Fnatic vote. It's kind of what I expected. Rocket do want to fight this one. sOAZ might get caught out of position here. Gold card pulled, forced to flash already. sOAZ there, precautionary flash, and absolutely was required as Rocket moved in full force.
Look at all of the vision that Fnatic have put across the jungle. Rocket have got that sweeper, so they've cleared out vision on the red buff, but the top lane matchup, no champions walk past it. Rocket are going to look for the lane swap, so Fnatic going to decide. We'll see how they react to it. They've sent their AD carry and support bottom lane, and if Jankos does not punish sOAZ without his flash in the next few minutes, that is a big misplay. We've seen every other jungler in the LCS in the opening weeks punishing the people who blow those early summoner spells, and Jankos has got the perfect champion to make that happen.
Well, we'll see where sOAZ goes. At the moment, he's shadowing Cyanide, passing through that mid lane, so it looks like they're going to go for an invade here, actually, towards the opposition blue buff. So a double blue buff still potentially for Fnatic.
Very smart play. They have the numbers advantage on this area of the map. Jankos is trying to get a blue of his own, almost anticipating the steal, but he's too late to the party. Fnatic started smart. They secured their own blue. They've got AD carry and support, and xPeke is very extended.
xPeke is deep, but he's got the satchel charge. It blows him in towards the tower, but he moves back towards his teammates, and you can see that steal is already well underway. That's going to be Cyanide that gets himself the second blue buff.
And there's such smart play from xPeke and the rest of Fnatic. They take advantage of the lane swap. They're in an advantageous position. Jankos is going to try grab the big wolf. He does have smite, and this is a little risky, but at the end of the day, Peke, he was pushing very deep. Jankos gets the camp. But what I really like is Peke forces the hand of Rocket. You've delayed Jankos, you've denied him a buff, you've slowed down his leveling process, and it's going to reduce the threat of that dive on sOAZ, because look at sOAZ, he's got all the support in the world.
Well, both these AD carriers have had themselves some free reign in both of the lanes. You can see the pressure they're putting down to it. Teleport comes out from xAxus. He's got the wave pushed up. He doesn't want to make sure he misses any of that CS or experience, but it's going to be potentially a 4-man dive from Fnatic.
So this is going to be 4v3. You can see Vanda's in the right place at the right time. Celaver's left alone in the top lane. Nobody is challenging him, so he's going to have time to theoretically pull ahead in CS. We need to keep tabs on how effectively he does farm. Yesterday we seen Moonlight from the Wolves having a completely uncontested lane for a long time, but he didn't have any significant lead over Genja, so a lot of pressure is going to be on him. And I also think Celaver may have a tough time against a Lulu in lane. The glitter lance and the auto attacks and the shields may give Lulu the chance early on.
Peke in trouble here. He's got flash available, but he's got 3 members on towards him. There's the Zenith. He's going to completely locked up. That's first blood. It goes to Jankos.
So well played by Rocket. They got off to another strong start. They actually secured some early kills against Alliance yesterday as well. But they need to convert it. They need to do it more. xAxus is going to take a lot of damage.
Aqua Prison lands on xAxus quickly. Finished off by Rekkles, putting some damage down towards him, contaminating towards the end. So xAxus taking low. Ooh, Vanda feeling aggressive, it seems, with that Zenith Blade whiffing past sOAZ.
No flash on sOAZ. A third of the cooldown still available. Jankos is looking to go for the dive. He's going to face check into Cyanide. Cyanide has done a pretty good job of this one. Look for the Zenith Blade or the Sonic Wave. That's going to start it.
Well, they're going to go towards sOAZ. They don't realize that Cyanide is there as well. It doesn't matter because sOAZ just gets dropped. No problem there. Celaver gets the kill.
And as predicted, Fnatic with a somewhat awkward invade at level 1, loses sOAZ his flash. It directly leads to another kill for Rocket several minutes later. So, someone's going to give Jankos a high five. He started well for his team, 2 successful ganks, and actually extend that high five to Vanda because he's the one that's landed that crowd control with Leona with the Zenith Blade. Avoided the weak matchup in the 2v2 and instead roamed to help get his team kills in a gold lead.
A lot of damage being done towards that bottom tower though for Fnatic. They're keeping that pressure down. You can see it's almost gone and Fnatic are continuing to keep that pressure. It seems that they want to get that 2v2 lane back in action, it seems. sOAZ returns himself back to that top lane, will finally get himself a little bit of CS, but doesn't want to push the lane too hard. xAxus keeping as much as he can away from that tower. You can see that burnout running on everyone, but Fnatic, they're just going to work down that turret. First one of the game will go down for Fnatic.
So that's going to even out the gold and, more importantly, open up the AD carry and support from Fnatic. Once we see Rekkles getting items, then we might see him roaming. But for the time being, I think he still needs to farm himself up.
So, bottom lane pairing back away. Let's see where Rekkles heads after this one, after he buys. I tell you what, he didn't. He cancelled his teleport back, and he will return and
can't miss the siege minion.
Keep down. He can't miss any CS at all, which is what he's trying not to do. He has got slightly the edge over Celaver, of course. Celaver with that kill has already backed up and got himself a Vamp Scepter. Coming back in towards that mid lane is Vanda. Will find that pink ward. Peke and Cyanide are nearby, but they're not going to do anything to prevent this ward going down.
No, there's nothing that they could do. Fnatic are still showing a tendency. They're happy to continue CSing and farming. Rocket are using this roaming support. We've been seeing more supports moving around the map and supporting their top laners and making ganks at earlier stages, but it's usually Threshers that have been doing it. I think Vanda's got off to a strong start this game with his Leona, but we need to see how it transitions to the mid to late game because he's about to find 2 members of Fnatic.
Vanda warding out on getting knocked back here. Peke going aggressive. Cyanide comes around the side. They pull the ward down, turns it back around. Zenith Blade goes in. Vanda has yet to get his bomb up. And YellOwStaR catches the Aqua Prism beautifully.
Yeah, red card rather, was pulled by Overpow, so he couldn't even stun up a member of Fnatic. I don't think it would have made a difference anyway. Fnatic grabbed their first kill by finding a somewhat overconfident Vanda, I feel. He just wanted to put a ward down.
A bold
very
move.
Deep
when he wasn't already at 6, he didn't have that Solar Flare. If Solar Flare was available, maybe I could see him going in there, but a very bold move when you don't really have vision, and you know everybody's already backed away from those lanes because you saw them teleport back. You know they're coming back with items. sOAZ getting into Grand Stock. Good culling coming out from Celaver there onto sOAZ. He hasn't got much hit points, only got that Doran shield on there, sorry, blade on there. Destiny comes out, sOAZ is going to try and run and hide. He got interrupted in the mid lane, and that's going to keep him safe.
So Overpow doesn't manage to close the kill out. That's a 2-level advantage that Celaver had over sOAZ. He was just shredding through sOAZ's HP. He's missed out on so much XP and gold thanks to that gank, thanks to not having his flash. You compare top laners to top laners. Xaxus has double the CS, 2 levels advantage, and if Xaxus does return to a 1v1 against sOAZ's Lulu, he should be able to start winning those trades.
You can see Fnatic gonna try and fight for this one. Blue buff is available, and remember Fnatic got the invade and stole it away, and they're moving in full force. Cyanide caught out, bit of damage on towards him. They do get wall placement down.
So there's no Destiny available from Overpow, and Jankos has not hit level 6 yet. So jungler v jungler, Cyanide is ahead of his opposition. There is the threat of a steal corner smite by Cyanide, but it looks like they're going to back away and play this one safer.
Inferno bomb's available if he wants to try and steal it away with that. Instead, they're more focused on that mid lane turret, which is taking some serious punishment from Fnatic, actually. You can see Xaxus doing what he can to keep them away, and will clear out that wave.
So Xaxus is just playing defensive duty. He's got the middle lane held off, but he's got his teleport available, no tower to fall back to in the bottom lane. And again, Rocket just playing super mobile. Jankos and Vander have moved around this map an inordinate amount, more than we're used to seeing from this level of play at the 10-minute mark. And sOAZ does have his flash available. Vander's only level 4. You compare that to YellOwStaR, who's level 5. The roaming is costing Leona time. He's not got access to that solar play yet.
It's costing time. That mini wave is going to get wiped out. That wave will go down, but nevertheless, Rocket, of course, only needed 2 hits on that tower. They were again trying to position themselves to gank onto sOAZ, who's been focused fairly heavily. And you know, you talked about how obviously it's costing Vander, but it's definitely costing sOAZ as well. He's fell behind in levels, and of course quite heftily in terms of CS, 13 CS behind Xaxus so far.
This is also a trend we see against teams, 4 teams that play against Fnatic. They do invest resources into trying to put sOAZ on tilt. We know he's an emotional player. We know that when he has a tough time, he sometimes struggles to come back into the game. So at 0-1-0, he's down on CS. He does have a utility champion that, even if he doesn't have that many items, the glitter lancers are still going to be powerful. The wild growths are still going to be effective. So that is a positive for sOAZ. Even though he's, behind in levels of gold, he's still going to offer a lot to his team once he starts grouping up and starts getting involved in the bigger objective team fights.
So there's a problem like that right now for Rekkles, who hasn't got a lane to go to. You can see he's actually going to make his move in towards the mid lane instead, because that bottom lane has been held by Celaver. He's been keeping it there, which is why he's going looking for Overpow. Does not land on towards him. Is it going to quite be enough? He's going to tower dive, and Rekkles has got the power to take down Overpow.
And he grabs himself the blue buff as well, so these next few minutes, Rekkles can just punish anybody that's out of position. There's still no solar flare for Vander. He's only level 5. Not a lot of minions to work with. Rocket should successfully defend this wave, thanks to the late addition of both Celaver and, of course, Jankos from the sidelines.
This is exactly what they did yesterday. They had no lane to go to. Instead, they went looking for a kill. They found it once again. Fnatic started to try and uncover any of those problems that they had back in the spring split. Xaxus going aggressive on sOAZ, testing, see how strong he is right now. Both have even farm. sOAZ has caught back up on that one, but he's had to go double Doran's ring. He's had to try and sustain himself, whereas Xaxus, you can see, went straight for that giant spot. He's going to have an item.
They've caught Rekkles.
Rekkles a little out of position. He's going to get caught with the Zenith Blade. Quickly gets locked in towards there. He's going to go down. Overpow gets the revenge.
And that's the power of Destiny. Even though Rekkles was super close to getting that ambush up, he was revealed thanks to Twisted Fate. First kill secured there for Overpow in the mid lane. It allows Rocket to grab the first dragon of the game. And when we highlight the fact that Rocket have got the second lowest number of dragons in the league, that is a very positive start for them. They once again regain the gold lead, and they're not done yet. Solar Flare's available.
Solar Flare's available. They're going for xPeke. Can they lock on towards him? There's the double shot. They've got no vision. He flashes just at the right time. Going back to the Dragons. That is the 4th Dragon for ROC this summer split. That's quite big.
It is a massive. That is a massive change when you consider how strong they were in spring. In the spring split for most of the regular season, I would say that ROC were the strongest dragon fighting team. I think they did better than Gambit did last split when picking their objective fights. As the split went on and ROC did lose some of their level or performance ability, obviously that did go out the window, but some confidence in that area may go a long way. I just want to touch on the fact that sOAZ has actually picked up a 3rd Doran's ring. It is something we've seen him do in the past on that AP Lulu when he's feeling under pressure. And there's a double gank. Overpow in mid as well as the top.
Mega Inferno Bomb does not really find its target. Overpow nevertheless is in trouble. Cyanide's going to pick up that kill. A double combo. And I think there was no assist. Did xPeke get an assist? I couldn't tell.
Yeah, xPeke did grab himself.
Just clipped him with that Mega Inferno Bomb.
Yeah, manages to get an assist, and that was just running Overpow down. Tied away from YellOwStaR doing a good job at zoning him out. We did see Jankos and Xaxus go aggressive on sOAZ in the top lane while that was happening, but nothing came of it. sOAZ is able to just wild growth himself, as you can see the cooldown, and it was enough to get away safe.
So Rekkles this time around got himself a free wave in the bottom. He's going to get joined by his support. Jankos is going to have to head this one off and try and get across there. He's going to go for, looks like, the white across on the right-hand side. Going to get vision in towards that Tribush. Actually continuing to go aggressive on this one. Does he think Rekkles is on his own? He's going for it. Doesn't realize they're both there. Destiny comes out. YellOwStaR gets focused. He goes down. And now Rekkles is in trouble. He's going to run headlong in towards Celaver. They just gun him down where he stands. And that was a simple double kill for ROC.
Very well played by Jankos, managing to find the duo of Fnatic. I think Fnatic a little bit brave, recalling in the river. You know, they felt that they had vision control, the sweeping lens, and I believe been used. Overpow looking. That's not the card you're looking for.
Ghost used. He goes for the red card, dodges out towards the Mega Inferno Bomb. Vander comes in, flashes, gets on towards him. But on the backside, we see Cyanide come through. xPeke's in trouble though. He's going to get locked down, and now Cyanide needs to run. Have they got the stun to catch on towards him? Sonic Wave gets in there. Jankos can't get either side of him. Has to safeguard away. Teleport comes in. sOAZ joins the party. He's going to be very, very low. Aqua Prison gets on towards Vander. They're going to dive this one. The tower's going to go down. Vander's got nowhere to run. Has he just going to escape? Fnatic back away because the teleport comes in from Xaxus. He chases on towards YellOwStaR, and everybody steps away from the battle. But back and forth action between these teams.
ROC were incredibly lucky to get away from that engagement, only losing their tower. The potential for more kills was very, very big. Both top laners blowing their teleports. Take a look at the minimap, because this is where all the drama starts. Overpow gets run down by Cyanide, as you can see. And you can immediately notice sOAZ has started to back away. He didn't want to potentially be interrupted while channeling teleports, even though I don't believe Xaxus actually had his Dragon's Descent. And I think this is just a brave ROC, but they overcommitted. Much like they did yesterday when they played as well. They just overcommitted to fights. It was yesterday or last week they played against the Copenhagen Wolves. They just kept going deeper and deeper and deeper, but at different times and on different pages. They cannot do that against Fnatic, who have got such strong pick champions, and they're going to get caught.
Oh, that's going to be Overpow. He's caught out. He's going down. Rekkles gets himself a revenge. Back on towards him. But Fnatic, well, they're going to keep on pushing on this one. They got 5 members in the mid lane. The wave is coming. ROC are nowhere near this one. This could be an inner turret.
It looks like it will be. Solar Flare is available for Vander. We see Xaxus moving into the sidelines. Unless they fully commit, this is going to be a tower trade. 1 for 1, but Fnatic come out ahead because they picked up a kill onto Overpow as well. Overpow's going towards what looks like an early Lich Bane. So I do think there is going to be a focus on map control and split pushing from that Twisted Fate and from the Shyvana, and I think that's the right call. Because in that regard, they should have an advantage at trying to contain, like either Lulu or Ziggs, force their hand to wave clear or use the Mega Inferno Bomb, and then look for the team fight once you know those abilities are down.
And you know, you mentioned the Rocket game, of course, against the Copenhagen Wolves. I think it was 6-1 they were up ahead in the lane phase. That was last week, last Friday. and then they just seemed to get a little bit chaotic and it didn't really work for them. But they're up against Fnatic this time around. They are the kings of chaos. They are completely excel when these games get a little reckless like this, and it seems to work well for them. Mega Inferno Bomb again saves out that mid lane. But just actually ironically talked to Alliance after that game, and you know, they were very happy that despite the fact they were up against the Ziggs, they closed the game out inside 40 minutes because they didn't feel it was possible. Normally when a Ziggs is there, we just saw the wave clearing capability that they have. That Mega Inferno Bomb stops any push in its tracks.
It really does. And unfortunately for Selfie, I think his Mega Inferno Bombs are a little baited. They're more Rekkles.
Rekkles caught out again. Overpow is this time not. Yes, he does. Gets it with a wild card. Back and forth. They've killed each other twice now.
Look at Rekkles' face. He's not happy with himself. I mean, that is a very frustrated, disappointed look. But unfortunately, the composition that Fnatic are dealing with, Rocket can find those picks over and over every time Destiny's available.
When was the last time you saw Rekkles die 3 times? I mean, he just doesn't die that often. He's got caught out, and he's having, as you mentioned, a bad play here. xAXus now caught out by YellOwStaR. Not too sure who should be chasing who here, but he's just going to pull him away. They have the 3 members in the top lane. Dragon will get picked up by Rocket, as you mentioned, second one of the game now for them. But Fnatic, they're still pushing.
So I do want to say it's not necessarily Rekkles playing bad. It's just that Rocket are really focusing resources onto it. When that Destiny is available, Overpow is looking for Rekkles. They're trying to shut that Twitch down. This tower's going to drop in the top lane. xAXus has done nothing but aggravate the Fnatic members. And in a 2v4, Celaver and xAXus are looking for the engage. And that's what we talked about with the Glitterlance. Even though sOAZ is, you know, not in a power position with a Morel and Nomicon, he's still got all of that utility. And thanks to the rest of his team having damage, he doesn't need anything more. And they've caught Jankos.
They're going to try and go in for this one. Destiny is not available, sorry. Celaver's going to try and catch out. xAXus went way too deep on that one. They're going to continue chasing Fnatic. Can they turn this one around? xAXus is trying to escape. Cyanide's going to lock him down. The bouncing bomb comes rattling in there, and Cyanide locks up the kill.
Rockout were just not connected enough, and because there was no frontline protection for Celaver, that was an easy teamfight win for Fnatic. Vander was looking for the bit multi-man solar flare, didn't connect, didn't work out, and Fnatic grabbed themselves a relatively safe kill, and they can steal the red buff away.
I gotta wonder why Rockout decided to chase for that one. They didn't have their mid laner with him. He did not have Destiny available because he just used it to get that kill on Rekkles earlier on, yet they all seemed to run towards it. Overpow had the chance to take down that middle turret. If they all they had to do is delay them recalling, delay them back in, they had no vision on that river, they could have taken a tower. Instead, they went chasing kills. It backfired on them. Fnatic still in the lead in towers, 5-2.
Now, this is something Rocket does when they're behind. They force fights and force... they force skirmishes, is the words I'm looking for. Now we do see the wave clear from Peke, and Cyanide's running in.
That's not going to work. It worked very badly. Jankos, though, does manage to land the kick square on the jaw of Cyanide, forcing him away. And Rocket escaped safely there. They tried to tank out that middle turret at the Mega Inferno Bomb for their favor.
Yeah, and that's just the power of Ziggs, like you talked about. The wave clear is strong. Rocket, to go back to the earlier point, when they lost the game to Alliance yesterday, Alliance got a lead, and Rocket just forced objectives in the jungles. Forced fights, like chased individual targets. That is theoretically a way you can bring yourself back in the game, but when you've got a Lee Sin, Shyvana, and Twisted Fate that can all go in very deep, very quickly, Rocket have to be on the same page. If they're not communicating effectively, they're going to overcommit to fights. And Fnatic, they found a cheeky amount of time to get some auto attacks on this turret.
They managed to dodge the bubble. Solar Flare locks on towards Peke. Zenith Blade follows it through, but he's clean to get away from this one. It's going to be Rekkles they focus on with the gold card, but he gets away. xAXus pounces in there, but doesn't get close enough. And Fnatic have escaped this one clearly. Destiny being used. sOAZ is separated. Overpow comes in, but eats an Aqua Prison straight away. Now they're locked up. This is a messy fight, but it's Fnatic that are turning it back around once again. YellOwStaR, Mega Inferno Bomb lands on Overpow. It's not quite enough. Cyanide's going to keep on chasing. He gets the speed boost from sOAZ, but it's not enough to lock on towards him, and they will escape. But now a 1-for-0. Fnatic with the minion wave coming, they're going to go for the tower.
If Overpow's going to play that aggressive, he needs xAXus to be closer and also needs xAXus to have some damage. Because xAXus has gone full tank, he's not really going to be able to kill people on Fnatic's side. There was no hourglass for Overpow either, so he committed to a 1v4 in the hope that the rest of his team was going to get there quickly enough. And that is the problem that Rocket have right now. Their decision-making and their team-fighting ability is not on par with what they're looking to accomplish. The team wasn't there quickly enough. They didn't have the builds or the damage, really, to close that fight out. And because they didn't pop somebody instantly with the Solar Flare and Twisted Fate combo, it just allowed Fnatic to kite and fight and win.
Well, despite the 6-2 tower advantage that Fnatic have, remember Rocket have picked up 2 of the dragons so far, which is what's kept them close in this gold. It's just 1,000 difference. That's going to level itself out. Now 500 gold as they do get themselves the 3rd turret of the game. So all out is now down for Fnatic. Rocket have managed to get themselves small advantages in certain areas. The question is, who will go down in the next big fight? Dragon up in 1 minute 30. I wonder if that will be the focus.
I think Fnatic should be comfortable to fight now. They've hit some very big item thresholds. You can see that Rekkles with his Phantom Dancer and Blade of the Ruin King completed. YellOwStaR's got some more tanky stats with that Negatron Cloak built up. They have not contested a dragon yet, but the vision around Rocket's jungle was pretty solid until Rocket have just started clearing it out in this last minute or two. So I feel like Fnatic could look to challenge. They could look to push up. There's nothing for Rocket to defend other than the inhibitor turrets. They've got no objectives to hold on to on their side of the map. And Rekkles, he's looking for Vander.
Rekkles is going in, he's found him. Mega Inferno bombs in there. Rekkles gets the kill on Vander.
And that's the item threshold. Phantom Dancer plus Blade can burn through even this fairly tanky Vander with that solo eclipse stats. There was unaffected. The rest of Fnatic, they want Xaxus.
Xaxus caught out, standing on a ward. They're going to go for Overpow instead. That's going to be the Wild Growth knocking him in the air. Xaxus now locked up. The wave comes through, not quite catching on, but the Aqua Prison down well does, and Xaxus goes down to sOAZ.
Yeah, when you get bubbled, you're in so much trouble, and that costs Xaxus his life. Fnatic with 5 members, minion wave backing them up. They've set their sights on inhibitor turrets.
Minions coming in, they can push on through. Just 3 members to try and defend this one. It's not going to be though. Fnatic going to take this tower down. Celaver do what he can to take those minions out, but it will be the inhibitor that will fall to Fnatic.
Yeah, it's risky. There's 2 seconds left on Overpow. He's respawned, but he does
going in.
Guards.
Solar Flare goes down, locks onto Rekkles, but there's 0 follow-up there, and that's an easy kill again for Rekkles. This time around, they're going to keep on chasing. Jankos, man, lands the Sonic Wave, but he's not going man mode. He's not going to follow that.
Like, I don't understand. Why would Vander go in? In order for Vander to jump into a team fight, the Culling needs to follow that Solar Flare, or Xaxus needs to jump in on top with you. Yes, the Solar Flare was good, but it didn't equate to anything. Rekkles, he's found Jankos now.
Jankos just kicks him away. Not too worried about that. Mega Inferno Bomb, not going to quite catch him.
Close.
Taken low there. I think he did actually catch on towards
That's
him.
Dragon. That is such smart play. Fnatic was going for Dragon, sniffed out Jankos looking for position on Dragon himself. And because Jankos, even though they didn't kill him, they forced him away. That is a completely safe Dragon for Fnatic, and they just accelerate into control of this matchup.
I kind of feel Rekkles, despite he got focused on a little bit early by Rocket, maybe you've got a little bit angered by that and has turned things around. 5-3-2 from 2-3-0. Definitely turning things around for Fnatic with the help of those Mega Inferno Bombs. Every time Fnatic go for someone, everybody piles onto the same target. Their shot calling right now seems to be on point.
Compare the fights that Rocket have started and their targeting to the fights that Fnatic have started with their targeting, and it's night and day. Fnatic are on the same target simultaneously with all of their abilities. And the moment Rocket are overextended, which they have done multiple times already, Fnatic punish them for it. That is also the power of the Lulu and the Nami. It allows Fnatic to disengage. And all the while, the kiting and the disengage spells being used, Rekkles and xPeke are landing the damage. So we do see Fnatic are probably going to start this Baron dance with the amount of vision they've afforded on this half of the map. I think it's a logical and easy thing to do because super minions can push middle. So get your dancing shoes on, because I think we're going to be in for a little one.
What kind of dance will it be? Will it be a waltz? I don't know, I'm not too sure. Celaver's going to go in there, trying to get a bit of poke down on towards him. Cyanide's going to be the focus target, but the wave comes back on through. Doesn't really catch in there. Teleport comes in, not too sure that's where Xaxus wants to be, but it will be where he ends up. Cyanide is the focus, taken pretty low from this one. Not a bad fight by Rocket in all sense of purposes, but Cyanide, he's going to have to step away, and that's going to slow the Baron down.
So aggressive play from Fnatic. This is what they didn't do super effectively yesterday. They jumped onto Rocket.
Oh, that's the Destiny used and wasted. They have no vision. They had to make it count. Fnatic, though, not going to go for this one. They're going to hold off.
Because Rocket have no vision of that Baron pit, the Destiny was used to predict Baron. They've seen that Fnatic were not rushing it down, so they're playing it fairly slowly and safely. I think they're assuming Fnatic won't run the risk of going for Baron, and that does seem to be the call. If Fnatic back away, Rocket are going to have time to just clear out those wards, and I think this is the smart decision. Fnatic had complete control of the area for the moment, and if they had left and uncontested this objective, it would allow Rocket and their 4 sweepers to regain vision control. Rocket have to get vision superiority right now, or run the risk of that same fight happening again.
Fnatic forced to back away, so they're not going to step completely away from this one. Jankos eating a couple of bouncing bombs as he sticks around in that side bush. xPeke yet to go back either. They're going to make sure these waves are cleared off. Big wave being picked up by sOAZ. I mean, much needed gold for him, who's honestly caught up nicely. This could well be the Rabadon's death cap completed for him once he wipes that wave out. Overpow will get himself the blue buff. Everybody's starting to stack up on the items, but with the 5,000 gold advantage built up by Fnatic, they are edging out Rocket.
I feel like Rocket have wasted an opportunity. Rocket anticipated and almost pushed Fnatic away from the Baron pit, but they have been so afraid to move into the river to clear out the wards that Fnatic have still got just superb vision control of the Baron. So if Fnatic want to play the dance and want to play around the objective, they've got the ability to do so. They were not punished for giving up control of that area. Rocket have 4 sweepers. There's 3 pink wards down. We'll ignore that for a second. But, you know, I really feel like that is a missed opportunity from Rocket, and we'll find out shortly if it does come to punish them. Finally, Jankos is using that sweeper and trying to clear out some of the vision, but it's too late because I feel like Fnatic can group up fairly quickly and defend their last few line of pink wards.
Oh, big bad YellOwStaR's bullied them away from that river right now. The 3 members step away the moment they see YellOwStaR. That's the power and fear that Fnatic are holding over Rocket so far in this game, and he really was the only one anywhere near it, but because they've got no vision anywhere else on the map, no one's showing in the lanes, they really don't know where they are. So, Overpower's headed down towards the bottom half of the map and quickly steps away the moment they see xPeke showing in that Baron pit. Does get caught out by a single Baron hit though. Destiny, of course, is available, but can't cover half as much ground as it used to, so has to try and stay close. Wildcard will be used to clear out that wave. He's going to show himself. Now they know he's there. They ping on towards him, and they're going to try and lock up on towards that bush.
Yeah. Rocket are running scared now. If you look at the positionings and the way they're playing, they haven't tried to push Fnatic away at all. They're simply reacting and trying to play defensively. The risk that they run into is if Overpow takes damage or is out of position, he is Rocket's primary wave clear. So he needs to respond quickly. Is going to also need to use Destiny because Fnatic are getting this Baron down very, very quickly.
Yeah, half the hit points already stripped off this one. Jankos is going to have to dive in and try and steal this one away. Instead, Fnatic are going to pounce away. Oh, Xaxus has down pounced in there a little too soon once again. He's going to get caught out. That's going to be a Mega Inferno bomb locks on. This is pretty close, though, in terms of damage because Fnatic took some punishment from that Baron. Rocket do step away, but Xaxus, he can't get involved in the next fight.
So Tidal Wave prevented Rocket from continuing the fight, and the Solar Flare defended Rocket from Fnatic getting more kills. Fnatic have peeled away from Baron, have got a better position to make a run on this inhibitor, and remember that a lot of those ultimates from Rocket are not available, so Rocket have to run the long way around. I think they're going to lose their inhib.
Yeah, of course, there's no tower there to defend it. They took that one down earlier on, so this time around, look at that. The wildcard's coming around the side, so as might get picked off at the side here. The rest of Fnatic have to try and move into position. Overpow flashes in, catches on towards Cyanide. They lock him up with the Zenith Blade. Wild Growth being used to save his life. Fnatic backing away from this one. Rocket all fully healed on this one. A lot of damage going on towards Xaxus once again, but they hold on to the inhibitor. Celaver out of position, could land a good culling.
Yeah, they need to be careful. If Celaver does get caught by any crowd control, he will go down. Inhibitor's down to 20% of its HP, and Overpow no longer has that Ghost or Flash to engage or look for a fight. Celaver's made it back into the base, but look at the respective HP bars. Rocket are lower than Fnatic. It's not over.
Aqua Prison on towards Overpow. That's the Mega Inferno bomb following through. Cyanide gets the kill down towards him. Vander in trouble. The shield's not going to be enough. Solar Flare lands down, but he goes down to xPeke. There's the inhibitor going down. They could finish it here.
It's not going to be over yet because of the risks. You do see that Xaxus, Jankos, and Celaver are alive. That's a lot of damage on the side of Rocket. If Xaxus commits and gets a squishy target, Fnatic will be in trouble, but this is smart. very big minion wave in the top lane. They're going to take advantage of it and try just get the tower or potentially another inhibitor.
20 seconds still on those death timers. You can see that inhibitor taking 30% health down towards it. Completely gone now. They're going to push on through. The tower down. YellOwStaR catches it. Aqua Prism on towards Celaver. Do not follow through this time around. They're a little bit more cautious. They don't have the damage. Jankos goes in. Great kick followed by a Dragon Descent. But quickly, Destiny comes out. Where's he going to go? Comes over off the side there. Wildcard can catch all 4 members. It does. It wilds on through. Rocket got so much damage going down here. You can see YellOwStaR in all sorts of trouble. Vanda's going to get the Zenith Blade back up in just a few moments. Celaver, he can dash once again. YellOwStar's going to be the sacrificial lamb, but it's not quite enough. Peke caught out. Jankos goes down. The ace could come through. Baron's available after this, and Rocket are running for it.
They have to go for Baron now, with the very big death timers on the side of Fnatic. Rocket are going to end up trading their inhibitor in the mid lane for a tower in the bottom lane and the Baron buff. The fight was very, very good for Rocket. We talked about how risky it was for Fnatic to stick around. They couldn't have gone for the finish because of the fact that the 3 damaging champions for Rocket were still there. xAxus and Jankos did a good job of buying time for Overpow to join the fight. Baron secured, they're going to defend the Nexus turrets, and xAxus is going to get himself... Oh, this is risky. Oh, I didn't see the respawn. So xAxus gets a lot of damage on the inhibitor turret, but doesn't actually close it out.
30% of the health left on that inhibitor turret. Fantastic turnaround from Rocket. We mentioned so many times that the gold wasn't that separate. It wasn't that far apart. Now with the Baron buff on Rocket, the gold advantage that gives you in terms of ability, power, hit points, regen, that is now the favor for Rocket. They're 8-4 in turrets down. They've got an inhibitor down, in that mid lane and a turret down in the top. But they could turn this around.
So this resets the game. With Baron buff on, Rocket's smaller misplays in most of the team fights can be counted out. But Fnatic took a page out of Rocket's book. They stayed overextended for literally 5 seconds too long. And it was that small margin of error that gave Rocket a near flawless team fight. They ran Fnatic down. Actually, it was a flawless team fight. I'm going to call it that. They got all 5 of them. They got the Baron. And they've hit a giant pause button on this matchup because Fnatic can't run the risk of another overextension. They can't run the risk of being in that position. The inhibitor turret is down to like 20-30% hit points in the bottom lane for Fnatic. So if they lose another big fight like that, xAxus could grab the bottom inhibitor, which would give map control back to the Polish.
One thing's for sure for Rocket, they're not likely to catch 3 members in a kick with the Elite Set.
True.
3 members with a Dragon Descent for xAxus, and 4 members with a wild card from Overpow. All of that damage accumulated was fantastic. But Rocket, what will they do with this Baron buff? Was it a Baron of opportunity, which, well, it was. Will they make it count? It seems right now they are playing defensive duties, of course. Super Minions pushing up that mid lane. They have to hold these waves.
Yeah, and something that you also noticed with that team fight, Fnatic didn't have any of their disengage spells available. You know, they got a few of those glitter lancers down, but the tidal wave, it had been used in the previous fight. So when Fnatic want team fights, they want their wild growth. They want their glitter lancers hitting multiple targets. And when they get surprised and shut down from multiple angles, it reduces the effectiveness of that disengage power. Now Rocket have not made an aggressive play for 15 or so minutes because they've been defending the Fnatic siege. They do have a number of towers down, but they've got to get the top and the middle inner turrets. And they need to get much better vision control. Their warding just sucks right now. So much more wards on the map to counterbalance the aggressive plays they'll need to get back in this game.
They have managed to shove all of the waves just over the halfway marker, which you see xAxus doing right now. That Baron buff, well, it's got around about a minute left on it. Rekkles zipping around speed mode. Looked like he was in fast forward there because of the speed he was going coming out of that ambush. With the extra speed the Phantom Dancer offers as well. You can see the damage he's got. Infinity Edge almost completed. Has also switched out to the Scrying Orb for Fnatic.
I'm so glad you said that because he did the same thing yesterday. Did exactly the same thing yesterday against the Super Hot crew. When we get to these later stages of the game, I love seeing the Scrying Orb because it reduces the risk of whatever play you want to make. You want to make a play around blue, red, dragon, Baron. You've got that information to work. Rekkles, he's found Celaver.
Stealth Bomber coming in. Celaver going to get caught out. The damage is just about enough. The flash finish from Rekkles takes knocks down the AD carry. It's a 50-second death timer.
That is very, very high. Rocket were able to defend with a lower number of players previously, but the circumstances are different. Fnatic have all of their key ultimates available to them. Wild Growth is there if they need it. The Tidal Wave is available if they need it, and they get an uncontested in-hit.
Big plays. We saw Mr. Rales doing the same thing against Peke yesterday as well. That unlocked itself an inhibitor. This time around, 2 inhibitors picked up for Fnatic. They're going to back away, take themselves great objective control now. They are in the driving seat once again.
And all of that vision that Rocket did not have comes back to bite them in the butt. They needed better pink wards. To be fair, Celaver was also fairly overextended. He was down to the river with not much support, super close by. And one single death on the side of Rocket gives Fnatic now utter map control. Super minions in 2 lanes will allow them to push the bottom wave once their minions get to the bases or to the steps of Rocket's half of the map. So let's see how they do it. I mean, Fnatic now have got all the time in the world. They've got a few minutes of uncontested map control.
Well, they were forced to rush away from that just for a moment there. Rocket showing signs of aggression, of course. Baron not available to them for a few more minutes. Maybe Rocket are going to try and move in and get some of that vision control that you mentioned there. They have got themselves a good portion of the map to try and get through. Pink ward is just in that death push, which they can clear out. So Rocket, they're trying to push through. They're trying to get some of that vision, and they need it because the next Baron in 2 minutes time could be vital. They've got super minions though pushing up the middle and top lane. They have to hold off, and you can see Fnatic, they're pinging the bottom lane. They don't care about Baron.
Yeah, I think Rocket have done a pretty bad job of vision this game. They finally got a ring of wards towards that Baron now in anticipation of it respawning. But one thing I also want to note is that 40 minutes, we're still not seeing any damaging items on Xaxus. Yesterday, Youngbuck did a similar thing with his Shyvana. He just built full tank against Gambit, and it offered nothing. The only damage threat from the Wolves yesterday was their AD carry. Rocket are at least supplemented by Overpow, but even then, I don't feel like that's enough of a threat because the 2 of them alone are not going to get through Wild Growth, heals, Mikhail's Crucible, Summon a heal. You know, there's so much that you've got to burn through if you're on the side of Rocket. A Blade of the Ruined King would have been very, very important. Jankos, looking for an aggressive play, may get caught out. Fnatic, with their superior vision, have read this well. They know exactly where Lee Sin is, and they're making a calculated move.
Going to try and pressure him off the side there. They know he's going to pincer his way through. There's super minions in that mid lane, which are going to have to be dealt with as the wave comes up the middle. They're going to try and tank this one out, get some of that damage down. And remember now, of course, with all that damage the Rocket have stacked up, Teleport comes in around the back. Dragons descend on towards him. sOAZ taking down the half hill. Points, we can see Cyanide just at the top of your screen taken low. That's the Guardian Angels going to get popped out. Rocket still very low coming from this one though. Cyanide does not get taken down. Fnatic escape with their lives. Jankos comes around the side. Can't get a Peke. Quickly shielded out by sOAZ. He survives. Aqua Prison lands as well. And Rocket, they have to run defensive duties. There's super minions on their Nexus turret. It's taken so low. They're going to get it. That's going to be the Nexus turret going down. Fnatic, they're going to back away, but they've already got themselves a turret with minion control.
I rest my case. Xaxus teleports in behind every single member of Fnatic, instantly throws down the Dragon's Descent, and needs to run away because he has no damaging items to apply pressure or threat to the members of Fnatic. I must admit, it did draw enough attention to allow Rocket to focus down Cyanide. So in that regard, yes, going full tank is buying time for the rest of your team. But unfortunately, the damage sources of Rocket could not kill Cyanide. The Wild Growth, the GA, the heals, it kept him up. Fnatic are going to sneak Baron. I don't think Rocket can get you quickly enough to challenge. This will be the second one of the game, going to Fnatic.
Yeah, they had vision of it just towards the end. We can see Mega Inferno Bomb coming from Peke as well, just to add that extra edge to the damage. That will go towards Fnatic. So, Baron picked up by them. Control is in their favor, of course, and it's the first Baron of the game for Fnatic.
Second of the game, right.
With the inhibitors going to be respawning in around about 30 seconds time. You can see there's the middle one already up. Top one's going to be coming up soon. So Fnatic, they're going to hold on for a moment. Still far from clear securing this game. It's not been easy for them, despite the advantage they've had throughout the game.
So Fnatic have faltered at the steps of Rocket's base twice, and that's because of the team fighting power that Rocket had. The moment Fnatic are locked into this very narrow corridor or narrow lane, the power of the Shyvana, the Leona, the wildcards, etc., it does get amplified. It's easier to land the targets, and it makes Fnatic's life more difficult because they have less room to kite away while fighting. The thing is, Fnatic have just once again been the ones making the plays. Every time Rocket have had chances to clear vision or get vision or go for aggressive plays, it hasn't worked out, and I do think there's been missed opportunities on the side of Rocket. But they're holding out. 40 minutes in, they've had some good team fights, and they're definitely looking to be stronger than they were last week, for example.
Oh, we'll see whether Rocket can try and flank around Fnatic once again. Those inhibitors back, and Fnatic are looking to take them down once again as Rekkles and Cyanide make their way through. It's Cyanide running as basically a mobile ward to get himself some vision in there. It's a couple of pink wards down though from Rocket. They're going to get vision of him very quickly, and they're not going to get caught out on one of those stealth assassins coming in. Celaver, of course, was the last man to get caught out by that. It's only kill, but look at that, scrying up, going down to get themselves full vision of the base. They do see that pink ward just off at the side. They're going to keep on poking towards it, isn't it?
If Rocket want to surprise Fnatic at those steps is where they need to do it. Zaz, look at the damage he's taken. Rekkles has got an Infinity Edge built up, and with the culling being wasted and not doing anything, it didn't even kill a minion wave completely. I think Fnatic should just secure this completely uncontested. They can do the same on the top lane.
They've only got one Nexus turret to fall back to as well. Remember, that got taken down by the super minions. Fnatic rotate back up towards this top lane. Another pink ward thrown down, but it's not going to be much use. It's not going to get defended, therefore it's going to get taken down so quickly going around. Vander does want it. He locks on towards Cyanide. He may be enough, but the wild growth, the wave comes through. Mega Inferno Bomb, everything just multiplying in damage for Fnatic. Rekkles comes in, gets the kill, flashes for it. Jankos goes down. There's the double for Rekkles. This will be the game for Fnatic. They're going to punish Rocket in the base.
There's no front line for Rocket to rely on, and Vander just held onto that solar flare for far too long, in my opinion. Wasn't able to get it up. Fnatic have done it.
Absolutely fantastic stuff. Fnatic go 4 for 4 right now in the league. It was far from convincing, but it's a win nonetheless, and that is all that counts in the league.
Positive play. Distraught faces on the side of Rocket. Jankos not looking happy with that game, and you know what? Fnatic, they took charge of the game. It's something they didn't do yesterday. They didn't make enough plays against the super hard crew, forced their way into a strong position, but today they did, and it worked against Rocket.
Well, Rocket now 1-7 in the league, and I mentioned that they were rooted at the bottom of the table. They put up a good performance this week. They held on lane face, worked very well for them, very well against Alliance, very well against Fnatic, but again, the problems persist, which is ironic because if you think back to the spring, they were strong in the early game, weak in the late game. Actually, sorry, weak in the early game, strong in the late game. This time around, it's completely flipped. They focus so heavily on the early game, they forgot what to do.
I still feel like they're making overly aggressive decisions. I think they're trying to force their way back into games by getting kills. And every time they force it and they try, weasel their way into situations that they shouldn't, they get punished for it. So I think a level of calmness needs to be imbued on the team, because unfortunately they keep getting, the red mist takes over and they get punished.
Yeah, Fnatic took good control despite being rocked a couple of times by Rocket there. Of course, that ace in that top lane led to that Baron. That was their chance. But as we mentioned so many times, when there's a Twitch out there, they have the ability, especially when the Blade of the Rune King's complete, the Last Whisper, the Phantom Dancer, there's a lot of damage there. If they sneak up on you and catch you out, generally, you're going to die.
What I would also say is Fnatic has clearly demonstrated their focus on preferred team comps this split. Nunu in the jungle, Nidalee. Yesterday, Trundle, Nidalee, Nami. Again, Lulu, Nami. They want disengaged compositions. They're not looking for hard engage. They're not looking to create team comps that can jump on, pile on, and blow you up. They want to be backing away, forcing you to come to them. So Fnatic are playing a style where they are encouraging their opponents to make mistakes and taking advantage of it. It is more difficult to make plays with those styles of comps, which does explain the passive play style. But it's definitely something I think teams need to cotton onto, because it is a very clear focus.
So what do we make of the league so far? Clearly, obviously, big difference between the top and the bottom right now. Alliance at the top, 7-1. Rocket down the bottom, 1-7. A lot of teams in between. But I feel the power shift is already starting to show quite clearly this summer. A big difference between the top 4 and the bottom 4.
I agree. I'm going to say the top 2, the middle 2, and the bottom 4, because I do feel that Alliance and SK are simply outperforming everyone else that we have seen. The games that they are playing, they are winning much more convincingly. I do think that the Super Hot crew are sitting in that sort of third hover spot for me. And there's a little bit of room for error for the rest of the midfield. But I think those are definitely the top three. And it is a stark contrast from the spring split where it was Fnatic and Gambit all the way, to the end of the split where Rocket and Alliance and SK did level themselves up.
Yeah, this is a big, big problem. We'll see how it works out, of course. Many more weeks to go, but for now, we're going to send it over to Shox and Officio. We're standing by with sOAZ.
Thank you very much, Dima and Officio. And I are indeed joined by Fnatic's sOAZ after that win. sOAZ, break down the picks and bans for me from your perspective, because yesterday we saw that maybe you didn't get anything you wanted. This time, Twitch in the first rotation immediately. Was that the biggest priority for you guys?
Yesterday we kind of wanted to have Twitch as well, but we were like, oh, they didn't first pick it, we can wait next rotation, and it was our mistake to leave them Twitch Night. And yeah, we pretty much have something in the champ select yesterday, so yeah.
All right, so Lulu top lane. Your build is a little bit different from what we normally see. Triple Dorans into Morello and Omicron. Can you explain it to me?
I don't really like the Athene build on top lane, especially. I think Morello is a bit better. The problem with Triple Doran is that you don't have much ward, but I just sold one Doran a bit earlier than usually. So the main problem of this build is about warding, but otherwise than that, you have a lot of damage, you have cooldown, so...
How come, again, Morello and Omicron, why do you take it over Fiends? What is the difference for you?
I just prefer Morello for laning phase and just the passive against like heroes, like if it's Renekton, for example, or other heroes, the passive of Morello is just better for me.
True.
And tell me about the game in general, because you guys built up a lead, not too big, and then in the top lane it went really bad for you guys, that fight at one point. It seemed like it could go the other way.
Okay, so on top lane, we were like, okay, let's get the turret. And after I say, can we actually get the inhib or not? And no one replied, and we just keep focusing the inhib. And we should have just back off after the turret. It was really bad.
A final question for you guys about the state of Fnatic in general. Usually we see you guys being really happy after you win. Not this season, though. It might be the hardest season for Fnatic that we've seen so far. What are your general thoughts about the state of the team?
I think it's a bit the same as before. We just need to get our flow and know how we want to play in this current state of the game. And we just need to do better rotations, of course.
All right, well, thank you very much. sOAZ, now let's send it back over to Demon and Quickshot at the desk for an update on the standings.
Thank you very much, Shox. After week 3's 8 matches, here is the current table in the European LCS. We're actually starting to see some daylight between the teams as some of the ties get broken, but of course, the big story is Alliance. They are now at 6-game win streak, I should say, and they remain at top of the table, 7 wins and 1 loss.
Yeah, very strong performance from them. On the opposite end of the table, we do have Rocket on an entirely different streak with a 6-game losing streak. They're now sitting at the bottom. They're 1-7 all alone. And like we talked about, it's just those tiers. A very clear distinction between the top 2 in Europe and everyone else.
We're starting to see how this one works out, but for now we've put together a squad of our own OP players that really impressed us this week. In the top lane for us, it is Wicked. He's had a great start for sure for Alliance, and he's been instrumental in some of their wins.
Definitely. He surprised me yesterday by first picking Jax. Definitely caught me off guard. I wasn't anticipating it. Played very well. His Shyvana game today worked out great. And his Irelia game, rather. He's synergizing very well with the rest of his team. His engages are good, and he picked up a win on Irelia. 1-for-1 in the split.
Well, in the jungle, we've gone for the man from SK Gaming. It is Sven Skeren. Fantastic kill participation, especially today. 68% over the week, but today I think it was about 96%. Incredible stuff. 9 assists. It's crazy.
It was all the Sven Skeren show. He was so largely responsible on his games of Lee Sin, and he's finding a way to do it every single game. If you compare Sven's from last year to this year, it is such a big upgrade. Very big impact player for SK.
Absolutely fantastic stuff. Who else would we go for in the mid lane? It's got to be Froggen, of course. Double Anivia games this week, and absolutely incredible. 21 KDA.
Yeah, he's going to be disappointed he gave up a death. You know, it's his first death on Anivia in his last 3 showings. I do think he has room to improve on that.
We'll see how it works out. Alongside him, well, it's another member from Alliance. It is Tabs as the AD carry. Crazy stuff. Only 1 death with 9 kills and 2 double kills this week.
Yeah, and very, very good play. We did see him play Cogmore as well. I like the fact he's pulling out a wide array of AD carries, and his team has got such a good synergy that his stats are always great to back it up because he's never in trouble.
Well, it's the team that keeps on winning. Nif is the support as well. Another fantastic show for him. This time around with Morgana and Nami.
Yeah, so in this particular time, managing to get 22, being involved in 22 out of his team 27 kills, it just speaks volumes to Alliance's playstyle. They are not about winning the lane to only win the game. They group up, they push as a unit, they win as a unit.
And of course, from those 5 players, we have selected Sven Skeren as our MVP for the week. And 11.5 KDA, highest of the jungler in week 1 in 1 week this split.
Yeah, and again, he's just a very high impact player. He finds kills all over the map all the time. We do have a clip that actually illustrates his performance on Lee Sin. He's going to be able to ride this Thresh Lantern, grabs wards, he hops all over the place as soon as we get that clip up on your screen. And generally, Lee Sin on Sven, it reminds me a lot of how powerful he was on Pantheon in the last split, just finding all of those kills and doing a really good job.
Yeah, and he really has been amazing stuff. Here's the replay.
Yeah, so you know, we touched on that a moment or two ago, and it's just Sven Skeren finding kill after kill after kill. This was the first of many, because he did that about 6 more times in that bottom lane. He made Genji and Edward's life a misery.
Kept that big smile on his face throughout the game as well, because it was a fantastic performance. 16-2 yesterday as well, of course, for SK. Dominant performance from them and Alliance so far. The North American LCS will be kicking off their week 3 tomorrow with Team Solar Mid versus LMQ, and then it will be Evil Geniuses facing off against Cloud9.
Then Team Dignitas will take on Counter Logic Gaming, followed by Complexity facing off against Curse. Those matches do begin at 9 PM Central European Summertime, which is 12 noon Pacific.
The European LCS will be back next Thursday with week 4. We'll be starting things off with an El Clasico between SK Gaming and Fnatic. That, of course, will be followed by Rocket versus the Copenhagen Wolves.
The Super Hot Crew will then face off against Millennium, and Alliance will square off against Gambit. It's the last LCS game of the day.
So we'll see you back here for those matches on June 12th, right after a new episode of the preview show at 5:30 Central European Summertime. That is 8:30 AM Pacific. But for now, it is time for the final European Challenger Series quarterfinal match as H2K face off against SK Gaming Prime in a best of 3. Over to you, Freak and Zyrene.